Open Instagram for 5 minutes and you'll see someone your age who's bought a house, started a business, got engaged, travelling the world, and you're kind of sat there thinking, what am I actually doing with my life? That feeling, that's not a motivation, that's poison. And today, to explain why everything you think you know about falling behind is, wrong. And I'm going to share something at the end that will completely change how I think about my own progress. But first, we need to talk about why you feel this way in the first place. Here's kind of what nobody tells you. When you see someone's success on social media, you're only seeing the final screenshot. You're not seeing the 3 years failed attempts of it before. You're not seeing the debt behind the car that they own. You're not seeing the anxiety sometimes behind the smile they have in that photo. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's kind of highlight reel. And even you will lose that comparison every single time because it really was never a fair fight to begin with. Think about B1 for a second, okay? Remember when you first played this? You were getting destroyed, going negative every game. Didn't know the maps, didn't know the spawns, didn't know which guns were good. But you didn't quit because you didn't look at the leaderboard and think, I'm behind. You just played. You got better, at your own pace, bear in mind. Nobody was kind of timing you. So when did we start putting a timer on kind of like real life, really? When did 25 become too late to figure out your career? When did 27, to be honest, become too old to not own a house? Who decided these deadlines? Because, let's be honest, you didn't decide them. It was, the internet. And the internet doesn't really know your situation. Let's be real. There's this kind of invisible timeline that society has built. Graduate at 21, get a job at 23, be in a serious relationship by 25, buy a house at 28, start a family at 30, and even then, if you're not hitting any one of those markers, somehow something must be wrong with you, right? Surely. Well, this is kind of where things get wrong. That timeline was built for a world that really doesn't exist anymore. Your parents' generation could leave school, walk into a job, and buy a house on a single income. And again, that's not kind of like laziness talking, that is kind of just economics. The average house compared to the average salary has, almost tripled. University costs more, jobs pay relatively less, and the career paths that used to be straightforward have now got like 17, 15 steps and a coding test. So again, look, you're not behind. The goalposts have clearly moved and nobody updated the timeline to reflect that. You're kind of running someone else's race on a track that was redesigned and nobody kind of gave you a map. You're kind of just like figuring out as you went along. But here's where that kind of gets really interesting. The people you think are ahead of you, a lot of them kind of feel the exact same way. It might not seem like it, but everyone feels this way. I've spoken to people who've got the job, that relationship, the flat, the whole setup, and sometimes they always kind of say the same thing. I still feel like I'm behind. The guy who got promoted at 24 feels behind because he hasn't started a business. The girl who started a business feels behind because she hasn't travelled. The couple who bought a house feels behind because they haven't got the savings. It kind of never ends. That's the kind of trap that I'm on about. Behind isn't really a real place. It's just a feeling. And feelings don't really care about facts. They're objective. You could objectively be doing well and still feel like you're falling behind because your metric for success is, someone else's life. And BO2, right? You could be top 3 on your team, still feel like you had a bad game because the guy in first went 40-2. But your performance didn't change. Your perception of it really kind of did. That's what comparison does. It doesn't change your reality. It just changes kind of how you feel. And you know what doesn't get posted? That 47th job application that got rejected. The relationship that kind of fell apart quietly. The nights where you kind of sit in your room and you wonder if you're wasting your 20s. The panic at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep because you're calculating whether your savings will last a month. Nobody posts about these things, but everyone experiences it. And because nobody posts it, you kind of think you're the only one, but you're not. I promise, you're not. I'm going to keep it real with you. The point where I feel like I wasted years, like everyone around me had it figured out, some secret that I missed. And the worst part wasn't even the situation, it was kind of the silence. Because, well, as a man, you really don't talk about this stuff. You just carry it and pretend you're fine, and that weight gets heavier the longer you hold it. And it's really not a good thing. So if the timeline is fake and the comparison is, well, rigged, how do you measure the progress that you're having in your life? And, well, here's what changed me. So stop comparing where you are to where someone else is, and just kind of start comparing where you are now to where you are in 6 months' time. That's kind of it. That's the only metric that matters. 6 months ago, did you know what you know now? Have you learned something? Have you survived something? Have you even changed, even slightly for the good? Then you're not behind, you're still moving, you're still moving forward, and that kind of is enough. I'll give you an example. About 2-3 years ago, I hadn't even touched this channel. I was kind of stuck. I was at university, I had a lot going on at the time, back to my first video, and yeah, I had a lot going on, and I was kind of overthinking it as to what to actually do. And now I'm here, I'm talking to you, and that's progress. It's not a house, it's not a 6-figure salary, but it's kind of movement, and movement that compounds the same way money does as well. Small steps over time add up to something you can't really picture just now. So if you're watching this at midnight and feel like kind of everyone's moving forward and you're stuck, close Instagram and open something that kind of helps you build. Read a book, write something, work on a project, apply for one more job, send that message you've been putting off, and do one thing. Just one, really simple. Because one thing a day becomes 2 things tomorrow, and then that's kind of how you build a life on that. Not in one leap, in 1,000 small steps that nobody sees except you. You're the only one that sees these things. I made this video because I needed to hear it for myself, not just for you, for me too. I'm in my late 20s, I'm figuring it out, I finished university, and it's a huge change that no one really talks about. I don't have a house, I don't have it all sorted, but I'm building, and this channel is proof that you can start something even when you feel behind. Again, if this hit home, I really hope you leave a comment and tell me that you're on the same boat and working through this as well. Tell me what you're working on just now that nobody sees, and people might see it. The stuff that doesn't get posted, I want to hear it, because that's the real stuff, and well, that's what matters. Subscribe if you're new, share this with someone who needs to hear it tonight, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.